The bullets and the punches and the riots have been flowing in only one direction for too long.
I've been trying to tell you guys this whole time how corrupt all of these things were, and here we are.
It is not our responsibility to fix something they spent years intentionally trying to destroy. Unity can only happen in a country when you have a people who agree on what the outcomes should be. Well, what's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Nom, SK, how's your guys' week going? You guys having a good week?
It's been good.
Yeah?
It's
Nom,
been good.
I know you've been super busy.
Oh, yeah, super busy, but things unrelated to the show, to the podcast, but absolutely. Busy.
Same. Folks over in the comments, in the chat, how's everybody doing? You know, it's funny. Larry MAGA was cracking me up in the chat earlier. Folks, I don't know if you know this, but Nom and I will sometimes come in and we will launch the live stream like an hour and a half early. And inevitably, there's always like 2 or 3 people that show up like immediately. Like I'm not even at my desk. I'm not even in front of the computer, and there's people already there. So we get into the studio, and Nom and I are just kind of staging the media and chit-chatting back and forth a little bit. And I see Larry MAGA, who's one of our moderators. Fantastic. Love this guy. P0, by the way, not a P1, P0, shows up 45 minutes early and he says, "Sorry, I'm late, everybody." It's like, dude, you're 45 minutes early. What are you talking about?
If you're 45 minutes early, you're 15 minutes late.
No. If you're 45 minutes early, you're still early.
No, you're 15 minutes late.
But there's expectations that they've put on themselves to be here and to be here early, which we love and we appreciate every single one of you guys. I think we're going to have a fun show tonight. We're probably not going to be nearly as serious as we were on Monday. Was that show on Monday an absolute barn burner?
It was. I
wild.
believe that was the number one live stream on X on Monday, because I mean it was all due to Data Republican. Thank you, Data Republican, for coming on. She's fantastic. Obviously, 1 million followers. We're going to get some views. Hopefully, we can. They came back. Hopefully, they came back tonight, and we give them another good show.
Hopefully, I saw a comment in the chat that I want to pull up real quick.
Rover Rock calls us the Three Amigos. Thank you for that super chat. By the way, the super chats are open. The Rumble rants are open. Get them in here. We'll stop what we're doing. Literally stop what we're doing. Like I just interrupted Patriot Dad. He hates when I do it, but
I don't mind.
There's super chats. There's super
Someone
chats.
needs to interrupt me. My wife gives me grief all the time because she's like, "Do you ever stop talking?" I'm like, "You've married me almost 20 years ago. You know the answer to that."
No.
The answer is no.
I
don't.
I think the Three Amigos thing is funny because our chat with Lisa and Data Republican and I, it's the Three Lady Musketeers.
SK, did you see this? I wanted to pull this up because I saw this when I was scrolling through the chat. Did you see this comment that DJ Constructed put in there?
I haven't seen that, but I also haven't spent that much time on X today. So I don't know about that.
Apparently people over on X, which are probably a bunch of the sock puppet accounts, there are AstroTurf campaigns out there using sock puppets and bot accounts. Maybe not so much bots because they don't really do this type of work. It's mostly sock puppets and trolls that are doing this. They feel like when somebody is over the target, they have to try to figure out a way to pull a little bit of attention away from them. And the number one attack that they use is to call them a spook, to call them an asset.
Yeah. They're a spook. They're involved in a psyop, or as we know, they're owned by the Jews.
Yep.
The Jews own them.
Yep.
No, none of us are owned by anybody, and I can promise you she's not a spook.
Nope, she's not. Because believe it or not, we kind of watched her evolution because I saw her on X long before she became a massive account. And it was when she was making the decision that she wanted to start using some of her expertise. Remember, she's an AI engineer, a very specific type of AI engineer. To do the stuff that she does, not everybody can do it. And we watched her evolve that account into what it is today when she decided to start leveraging her skill set to find answers to questions that she wasn't getting anywhere else. So I don't want to spend an hour on Data Republican because she doesn't really need a whole lot of recognition, but she's fantastic. She's not a spook. She's not. She's actually a pretty down to earth, incredible, really humble human being who's just doing the Lord's work right now. She's changing the country. That's all that matters. So
Mitchell wants to talk about Epstein. Listen, as much Mitchell, damn it, Mitchell, stop it. Stop it. No one wants to talk about Epstein less than I do. I want to talk about Epstein less than I wanted to talk about Candace Owens, but we don't have a choice because PatriotDad says so, and because this is what the entire internet is still talking about, this stupid story. Stupid story.
I have a theory that I want to run by the chat, and it'll take a little bit of time to develop, but I want to run it by the chat. Where do you think we are in the timeline right now? I'm going to pose this question to the chat. Where do you think we are in the timeline? Anybody?
Oh, well, I mean, I guess so. Maybe they don't know what you mean by timeline. What are you referring to timeline?
All right. So
what do you mean by this?
So those of us who have been engaged in this political digital warfare for a long time, we have been trying as hard as we can to get people to pay attention to the rotten underbelly of our political society. It's disgusting. And we've been talking about this for a long time. And there's been a lot of different campaigns to do it. There was obviously the QAnon movement, and call it what you will. You can call it whatever you want. That's fine. But nonetheless, nobody except for a small group of people actually wanted to talk about the reality that most of our global elitists are the most disgusting creatures on the planet, and they do horrible, awful things to everybody. Kids, adults, citizens, immigrants, they don't care because to them it's about power. And yet nobody wanted to talk about it.
I feel like people are like a decade behind.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so over Epstein. When you guys said you wanted to talk about Epstein, I was like, oh, do we have to?
Yes, we do.
We have to.
So let me restate back the initial question. The initial question was, where are we in the timeline? So the way I read that is you want me to tell you which round in the rope-a-dope are we actually involved in?
Yes.
Which round of the Trump rope-a-dope are we in with the Epstein files? Because y'all know that's what is happening now, right? I mean, that's where we're at. It's the Trump rope-a-dope, and they're all getting rope-a-doped right into it. For what reason? PatriotDad, give us your theory.
All right. So, we have a couple of operating theses on how Donald Trump manages his affairs. And if you've read his books, you probably have figured this out yourself. He is very transactional in the way that he operates business and the way that he operates politics, which means he may agree to do things that you don't particularly like because there's a transaction involved. But he also understands his opponents probably better than they do. He's an expert at this. He's a negotiator. He gets it. And the one thesis that continues to play out over and over and over again is what we have affectionately called the show your ass theory. Nom, can you describe, or SK, can you describe what the Trump show your ass theory is?
Go for it, Nom.
I will. I mean, it's basically where President Trump gets these people, he drags them into doing something that as soon as they do it, they basically might as well just turn around, drop their drawers, bend over, and show their ass, right? That's what he's getting ready to do. So essentially where PatriotDad is going with this is he got you all to beg and scream and kick and scream and squeal and throw your hands and fists in the air and claw at your faces and cry and all that stuff over Epstein. You demand everything. You have to have it all right now, even though you never cared about it before. You still don't care about it because you think Trump's in there. And then again, what have we told you over and over and over again? The more comes out, the more we find the only thing at the bottom of the Epstein well is Democrat bodies. You guys are all been begging and demanding for arrests. What are you going to do when you actually get the arrests? That's the rope-a-dope. That's the show your ass.
Donald Trump could announce that cancer has been cured and the Democrat Party collectively will demand that everybody get cancer because it's good for them. That's the show your ass theory. He has this unique ability to get these people to take the dumbest positions for their own political and personal futures ever. So remember the timeline. For years, We have been trying to get folks to pay attention to the fact that our political societies, our political infrastructure is disgustingly rotten. That many of the people who have controlled the levers of power, including presidents, departments of justice, defense departments, going all the way back generations, are horrible, awful, pedophilic, disgusting, cannibal people. They're horrible. They're awful, but nobody wanted to listen. Nobody wanted to believe it. And all it took was Donald Trump telling people to move on from Epstein. That's all it took. And as soon as he made that statement, as soon as he said that, the entire political establishment decided that we have something here. There's something that this guy doesn't want us to see in the files. What is it? Or my thesis is that there was something in the files that he did want you to see. He wanted everybody to see. It just took the show your ass theory to get them to want to see it too. Are you guys tracking me?
I am.
In the chat, are you guys tracking? Are you tracking the show your ass theory and where we are in the timeline?
We are. While the chat is thinking about this, Abe Beaverhausen has sent a $10 Rumble rant in, so we've got to read it. We're going to read it because P0. I went to a talk today given by a woman that was a child in Auschwitz. She is the youngest surviving twin that was experimented on. Dems and libtards have no idea what true evil and real Nazis are. Which, by the way, Abe Beaverhausen, if you actually understand who Epstein really was and what he was really doing, the reason why he was bringing all these scientists and these geneticists and these AI people together and these technologists was because he actually wanted them to do these types of experiments on humans. He wanted to genetically modify, try to figure out how to create the perfect human. Transhumanism is where he was going with this. If you know what that means, Patriot Dad. If you don't know what it means, Patriot Dad can spend probably an entire show explaining it.
It is the next generation. Well, let's just say this. It is the place where they're trying to take us. Transhumanism is the endpoint of transgenderism. It's the endpoint of this trans soul type of mindset that SK and those have been talking about, where you have the ability to transform everything about you with or without a higher power. You can do it yourself and make a superhuman out of it.
Right.
The Cliffs Notes version is it's like Oprah's shit she used to talk about, like The Secret, you know, like manifesting, and yeah, it's disturbing. This is Lisa's wheelhouse, so paging, I am Lisa Logan.
Yep. Well, we'll have a show with her because I think there's SK's been hitting this in the green room for the last couple shows, and we've just kind of pushed it off to the back burner, but we're going to get to it. We need to do an entire show on the effort to retrain the human mind away from the idea of the need and a higher power and turning it inwards. This humanist worldview that exists and continues. What's this? The files were a shit show and tampered with and not. Yeah, you're right.
We're going to get to this because so we started having this debate, Patriot Dad and SK and I, in the green room, and he was like, "Stop! We need to have this in real time." Right?
Oh, yeah,
because this is exactly right. So, guys, folks, we have a point to what we're going to do and why we are talking about the Epstein files. Patriot Dad has done some significant hacking around in Grok, and basically, at the end of the day, everything that you're seeing out there about Trump is all fake. You all know that, right? We've got the stats. We'll get to it. Patriot Dad has a theory that that they're being rope-a-doped into not only accepting but being the ones to call for the arrests of their own people. And we've got some videos and stuff to pull this on. My argument that I was making, and I believe this wholeheartedly, is that if there ever was any actionable evidence in these files, it has been gone for a very long time. There won't be any arrests because there can't be any arrests because there's no way to tie sexual assault of a particular girl to a particular person in those files. Not anymore. It doesn't exist. If it ever did, I don't know, but you're not going to see any arrests.
I think that there's multiple strategies playing out here. You may be right, Nom. You may be right. And I think SK has the same opinion. You may be right that there's probably not anything legally actionable in those files because of the intentional effort going back multiple different Department of Justice leaderships ago, where they very clearly sprinkled in complete and total slop to try to hide their own guilty among the innocent, to try to make it virtually impossible for you to understand what was actually happening and who was involved. But remember, we don't just live in a legal world. We live in a political world. We live in a world where if you can move the needle on the political front, then it's almost as powerful as on the legal front. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples now where you actually have Democrat politicians demanding every single person who ever sent an email to Jeffrey Epstein be hauled in front of Congress and forced to testify. That is a political strategy. And what they did not account for is the fact that the people who were emailing Jeffrey Epstein are their own donors. They're their own media allies. They are their own Hollywood celebrities. They are the people they have surrounded themselves with for years. Those are the folks that are going to have to go testify if the political strategy plays out.
We've got the video. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear Ro Khanna.
Thomas Massie and my Epstein Transparency Act led to millions of files being released that have shocked the conscience of the nation. Today, I call for Congress to haul in front of the Oversight Committee every single person who emailed about going to Epstein's Island. They need to answer some basic questions. Who raped these underage girls from working class families? What did they see? What did they know? What did they participate in? The American people are frustrated with the rich and powerful getting a different set of justice. There cannot be two tiers of justice in America, and I will not rest until the people who committed these heinous crimes and this heinous behavior are held accountable.
They are your own rich people, dude. And look, I celebrate the idea that you're okay with your own donors going to prison. I think that's fantastic. But the rest of your party does not agree with you.
Well, that's the thing, right? So what Ro Khanna is calling for is no different than every time a Democrat runs out there and says, we got to raise taxes, because their donors are going to look at it and be like, you're not raising taxes on us. Shut the fuck up. And they don't ever raise the taxes, right? They don't ever do it. They know that this will never happen because the biggest donors, Reid Hoffman has some serious questions to answer. But they will never drag Reid Hoffman into Congress to answer these questions. We all know they won't.
Are you sure about that? Go ahead.
Oh, Family Crest on Rumble asked who was the woman that was texting with Epstein during that hearing. It was Stacy Plaskett, the representative from the Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands. And she also did some shit to get Epstein out of having to pay a whole bunch of taxes. And all he gave her was like $30,000.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And then she in turn gave him over 300 million in tax breaks. Was it 300 million? In tax
I think
breaks.
It was 300 million. I was trying to remember that yesterday.
I think it was 300 million. Yep.
I think it was too.
So I'm going to pull up Reclaiming the Narrative 8, if I can find it here real quick, if it's up here. Let's take Ro Khanna down. Can we take that down? Yeah, you have to take that down for me because you brought it up. But let's bring up Reclaiming the Narrative 8, if you can, Nom. So
is it a video or is it a picture?
No, it's a picture, right? So this is Nancy Mace. Taken to her X account.
Did you already add it to the thing?
No, it's not in there. You have to pull it up. So Nom made the point that he doesn't think that the people like Reid Hoffman will ever be called in front of Congress. And I don't know, because it certainly seems like at least some folks in Congress are willing to go that route. So here is an X post of Nancy Mace. It's in there. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nancy Mace, who is demanding that Bill Gates go testify under oath on his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and in front of the Oversight Committee. 3 million pages of Epstein documents were just released by the DOJ, and the allegations are sick. If these allegations are false, Bill Gates should have no problem saying so under oath. Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are also confirmed, at least now. Something will probably change that, but they're going to be testifying as well.
Well, Melinda Gates came out, I believe it was yesterday, if it wasn't this morning, and said that, yeah, her ex-husband, Bill Gates, should be forced to answer questions about his role with Jeffrey Epstein. So she agrees with that. That's Nancy Mace, though. That is not Ro Khanna, and that's not the Democrat Party. Because I actually called Ro Khanna to the carpet yesterday over on X because he's making a big big stink about Trump and blaming Trump and protecting all these pedophiles. And I was like, hey, I haven't seen you call for the arrest or even the testimony of Reid Hoffman, of Bill Gates, of Catherine Rumler, of all of these people. And then today he comes out to the floor and now he's ready to do that. But I want you to stop mincing words, Ro Khanna, because all of these people are your donors. They're Democrats. They are not Republicans. These are your people. So quit trying to mince words and pretend like there's blame to go around everywhere. Where? Who are the Republicans that we should be talking to?
I mean, Peter Thiel is somebody who's going to have to answer some questions.
Okay, well, Peter Thiel's not an elected Republican. I don't care. I don't need.
You know who else is going to have to answer some questions?
Who?
And probably one of the most disappointing findings that I was not prepared for when we started this, Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon needs to answer some questions because
we know what Steve Bannon was doing.
He was trying to help Jeffrey Epstein revive his image.
He was being paid to do it. Yeah. You know, I agree. Because Steve Bannon's got some problems here, but he was being paid to do it.
Yeah. So guarding the grid, who, by the way, I think is a really interesting account on X. I need to get to know this guy a little bit better because I have a feeling he's got some tricks and things up his sleeve that we need to learn about.
Hey, I'm okay with anybody who's guarding the grid being in here.
Totally agree.
You got my back. That's great.
Totally agree.
But his comment was I believe that account works for a major service provider.
We love that.
Internet service provider. So
yeah, he was on the screen. So guarding the grid, I think it's a he. I'm not going to gender identify you if I don't have to. It says, from this day forward, I will be calling Epstein Epsteinstein. Is that right? Epsteinson? I'm not sure what that means, but I have a feeling it's funny. I'm just not sure if I'm getting it, but it should be funny because it sounds like it should be funny. But okay. So again, where are we on the timeline? So where we ended up on Friday, right? When the 3.5 million documents were dropped, the entire political establishment, including a whole bunch of fake ass America First, black-pilled loser accounts, were convinced that if they could get their hands on these documents, Donald Trump was going to be proven to be a predator. And the exact opposite happened. The exact opposite happened. In fact, it was so bad once people got a chance to really discover what was in these files that the other day, yesterday, there was a full court press to flat out lie to the American people, from people in Congress, from the propaganda accounts, from the typical liars, the Harry Sissons and the Deans and all of the folks on social media who do nothing but lie to you. They had to try to figure out a way to change the narrative, to reclaim the narrative, because it became pretty obvious Donald Trump's not a predator, at least not based on what's in those files. Instead, the only thing that they found was a bunch of fake FBI prank calls and a whole bunch of doctored stuff. So I decided to go out and do a little bit of homework. SK, you look like you were going to say something and I just wouldn't stop talking. Did you have something that?
No, I was reading comments.
I glance down at SK sometimes on the screen and she's looking at me like, will you shut up so I can say something, please?
No,
so,
I just sometimes just zone out completely.
Got it. So I decided.
It's because he never stops talking. So
I know. All right. Well, someone else talk. I'm just going to.
No, I don't know what to say. It's your.
This is
your segment. My segment's the Save Act. This is your segment. I have no interest in this one. You know that.
We'll get through this quick. So because this panel has done an enormous amount of research on the Epstein files over the years, I found it to be a personal mission to debunk the lies that I was hearing going all the way back to the 2024 election cycle. We are the group of people who originally debunked the Katie Johnson hoax. We're the ones who found that Norm Lubbow is in fact the person that was behind the Jane Doe Katie Johnson hoax, who's a former Jerry Springer producer. We did that because we dug into the research. We dug into the articles that were written all the way back in 2016. So we've been debunking this crap for going on 2 years at this point. We've studied this stuff. So yesterday, when I open up my social media accounts and I start seeing things like, we need to pull up, hold on, let me see if I can find it. When I start seeing things like, can you pull up Reclaiming Narrative 7?
I don't know. I can't see the numbers on them.
Yeah, I can't either. We'll get to it.
We'll just bring it back up.
Here,
I got it.
Okay. When I started seeing things like this pop up yesterday, I realized that there is a massive massive propaganda campaign to try to convince people who spent the entire weekend searching through the files that what they were finding was in fact different than what they need you to believe was in there. So accounts like this one, WTFGOP, who is probably one of the biggest loser accounts on X, and there's a whole bunch of them posting things like this. These images are verified and in the Epstein files. Those are really specific words that these people are using. These images are verified and in the Epstein files. Every time White House, Trump, or anyone tries to make excuses for this effing pedo, share them on their feeds. All these disgusting boils on the butt of humanity need to be in prison. Wow, that's incredible. There's just a problem with that. That image is fake. It's fake.
I mean, there's like a floating hand.
It's fake. Not
And
only
that hand has 6 fingers on it too, by the way.
I mean, it's not even realistic. And
not
when
only
was this
that
supposed
image,
to be taken? How old is he now?
1997 is when
Yeah.
this image was supposed to be taken.
Get out of here. That doesn't look anything like he looked in Home Alone.
And then there's images like this one. Did you guys see this one? This apparently was tucked inside of the Epstein files. Literally found a photo of a girl in the Epstein files with a SpaceX logo sloppily photoshopped on her t-shirt. So there was clear tampering that was going on here. Very clear tampering. And then you have idiots like this guy, Jim McGovern, Congressman McGovern. This isn't some anonymous tip. This is sworn testimony under penalty of perjury from someone who said Trump threatened to kill her if she exposed Epstein's abuse. That affidavit, folks.
Let me guess. Hold on. Don't. It's Katie Johnson.
That's the Katie Johnson
Are you
affidavit.
shocked? Are you shocked? Are you shocked?
Stop
The same thing that's been debunked, even by Snopes, you guys. And these idiots are pushing it like it's fact. It's unbelievable.
This is an elected politician in Congress, Jim McGovern.
They know they lost the narrative over the weekend, and yesterday their design was to try to reclaim it. So I decided to put an end to their efforts to reclaim it. So I don't know if you guys saw this. I put a video out this morning. It's about 5 minutes long. It could have been a lot longer. But I've always been fascinated with this concept of fact checking. And one of the most, I think, powerful tools, and probably one of the most used tools on X, is this feature in the comments where you can tag Grok and you can ask Grok, is this true? Now, you can argue all day if you want about whether or not Grok is accurate. I actually find that Grok is becoming more and more and more accurate than what he was months and months ago because it's learning as it goes. And here's what's fascinating. There's been several instances where Grok and I have been going back and forth and I'm fact checking Grok, and it's willing to accept the new information that you give it. There was one case in particular, the Katie Johnson story. Several months ago, I was asking it about the Katie Johnson story, and Grok had no idea who Norm Lebo is, had no clue. And I presented a couple of articles from 2016. And now when you talk about Katie Johnson to Grok, Grok presents Norm Lebo. He tells people that Norm Lebo was the one behind the Katie Johnson hoax. So
Did you retrain Grok?
I retrained Grok.
I have to do it
Yes,
all
you
the
do.
time. Anytime I
Yes, you do.
use it, it's wrong like almost
Now-
all the time.
Now listen. Now there's kind of retraining that model a little bit because it used to be it would basically dump everything that was in that context window in that session. Now I think it does learn a little bit and it pulls information. But you also have to understand that these LLMs, they are also very much programmed to keep you happy, to keep you engaged. So they will say whatever they think that you want to hear for you to continue talking with them. All right,
It probably loves me
that's an
then,
aspect of
because all I
this
do is give it primary sources. I'm like, you're fucking wrong, and here's the receipts. And then it comes back, and they're like, oh, you're right. And then like 2 hours later, they're like, I've never seen somebody with so much information. And I'm like, fuck you, Grok.
I've actually seen Grok respond to other people's posts when they ask about Katie Johnson with the new information of Norm Lebo. So
Yep.
that information seems to have set. So I thought it would be really interesting to find out over the last several days of all of this slop that we're seeing on social media, what percentage of the instances where Grok is asked to verify the accuracy of the slop, what percentage was found to be true? So I asked Grok this question, and I spent about an hour and a half last night going back and forth with Grok on this. I said, can you do an analysis of the Epstein-related post you have been tagged in since Friday, January 30th, 2025, to determine how many of the claims made about Donald Trump by posts you've been tagged in are false or misleading? That's a pretty straightforward question. One thing that I was really interested in is that Grok does not retain this information. Grok does not keep data sets on statistics like this. So Elon, if you're listening, and I doubt you are, but maybe you should be, I think it would be really cool if Grok actually kept this type of information so it could be easily sourced. I also think another feature that has to exist on X is a Grok accuracy score on accounts. I want to be able to go to Harry Sisson's account and I want to find out how frequently that idiot is lying to me, even though I know it's happening all the time.
I think that's a slippery slope. We're getting back
Hugely
into the
slippery slope.
disinformation category. And remember what it was like when everything was labeled disinformation when it wasn't disinformation? I mean, you're getting back into that territory.
That's fair.
You are.
I can accept
that. No, I agree with that. And that's a good pushback, SK, because I mean, we just spent the last 10 minutes talking about how epically Grok and all these AIs and LLMs can be incorrect, how they can be wrong. So we all know that. So then you're basically saying, even though I accept the fact that you are wrong most of the time, now I want you to put a disinformation score based on your wrongness.
That's fair.
That's a word. Right.
I will retract the statement that I want a Grok accuracy score. But at some level, and maybe this is just where humans just need to be smarter than what a lot of us are, we need to be able to identify these idiots that are just straight up lying to you, because they are. So
I think you're having too much faith in humans at this point in time. Common sense is a superpower at this point in time. I mean, you can't rely on these people to even think for themselves.
That is true. All right. So Grok and I went back and forth, and I wanted to understand what was going on in this propaganda campaign yesterday, because it was overwhelming. Every single post I saw on my timeline, on my news feed on X, was the same thing. It was the same pictures. It was the same script. It was the same lies. And I knew that 95% of what I was seeing was not true. So I asked Grok to analyze it, and it did. And I was specific. I wanted and as this conversation developed, I wanted a statistically relevant sample that got me to 90 to 95% confidence in the data, right? So if you've studied statistics, you know that's basically, you have to expand the size of your sample over and over again to get to that point. But what's interesting is that we didn't have to expand it that far, because every time we expanded it, the sample continued to produce the same results, which gets you to a high level of confidence. And here's what we found. 82% of the instances in the sample that we looked at, 82% of those instances where Grok was tagged in a thread asking Grok if the thread was accurate or not, 82% was false or misleading. 82% of the times that Donald Trump was accused of something based on the files, 82% of them were false and misleading. And he went on to explain that those 82% consisted of allegations of rape and assault claims, fabricated financial ties. Like, for example, apparently people believe that there's evidence in the files that prove 4,725 wire transfers from Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein doesn't exist, totaling $1.1 billion. That doesn't exist. It's not in there. And yet,
hold on. They think that Trump is only worth like $4 billion, but he's given Jeffrey Epstein $1.1 billion.
That's right. That's what they think.
Yeah,
or at least that's what they want people to
That sounds reasonable.
And then the part of that, obviously, 82% is just totally AI generated images and media. Only 14% of the sample that we looked at, only 14% came back as accurate. And those 14% consisted exclusively of people who were asking for verification on the pre-2004 social ties between Epstein and Trump, because that's all they were. They were social ties. They were friends. That's it. And verification on the number of times that Donald Trump's names show up in all the Epstein files, which is somewhere between 1,500 and 1,800. Most of those, according to Grok's analysis, are other people saying Donald Trump's name. That's what they're saying. So only 14% accurate. The other 4% were just neutral. People mostly confirming timelines. So I decided to go a little bit further because remember, there's a propaganda campaign and you have to understand where we are in the timeline. They have lost the narrative, so they're trying to reclaim it. So they are pushing slop out at you to try to convince you that something is in there that's not. Of the 82% that came back as accurate, 65% of that involved manipulated media or total hoaxes included in the files. Like Donald Trump burying children in a golf course that he didn't own for a freaking decade later. That type of stuff.
Do you see why I don't want to talk about this stupid topic? Because it's like it's a fantasy. It's a fairy tale that we're all supposed to sit here and buy into. It's even less believable than the Russia collusion hoax was. I mean, frankly.
Agreed. Two things. Number one, good night, guarding the grid. Also, we won't be here Friday. We have to take another Friday off. But on top of that, I feel like this topic makes me extra get behind my whole thing when I joke around and say the gene pool needs a new filter. Every time we talk about this stuff, it makes me feel like the gene pool actually needs a new filter. It's broken.
It is broken. All right, we'll wrap this up quickly because I know you guys want to move on. We got some other stuff to talk about.
Thank you.
The other point that I need to make is that 65% of those of the 82% that was false were manipulated media. So I decided to double click on that because I was seeing a bunch of fake images come across, and Grok was able to quickly pull 22 unique images that have been presented by these particular accounts as part of the 65% that were manipulated, 22 different distinct instances. 100% of those images, 100% were fake.
Yeah.
100%. Everything that you're seeing that looks like it's compromising, showing Donald Trump in a compromising photo, is fake.
The real problem here, right, is not that all of this stuff is fake. The real problem is that the fake images are going to get better and they're going to be harder to determine that they're actually fake. We already have a complete inability to discern fact from fiction in this country because of tools like AI and these people who intentionally do this just to muddy the waters and to take people down. In another 6 months, you won't be able to tell.
But this is where people like us are pretty important because we cannot, under any circumstances, have a disinformation governance board, especially run by somebody like Nina Jankowicz. But I digress. We cannot give control of that over to the government because you don't want the government telling you what's true and what's not true. That's state media. So people just have to become more wise and pay attention. And if it doesn't seem like it's possible, it's probably not possible.
Yeah. So last little segment on this, and I want to hit this hard because it's really, really important. We are now seeing an orchestrated or maybe not orchestrated, what appears to be actually a fairly organic groundswell of people on both sides of the political aisle who are starting to demand accountability, starting to demand arrest. So when I ask the question, where are we in the timeline? Here's where we are in the timeline. This is where we are in the timeline. People like Luke Rudkowski and folks on all sides of the political spectrum are now starting to demand arrests. Remember, a year ago, these people didn't even want to talk about it. They had their departments of justice and their FBI directors who were doing their best to make sure this stuff never saw the light of day. And now everybody is demanding arrest. And the one thing that I continue to see over and over again, and I don't know if I have an image of this, is people asking why there are still redactions in the files today. Because a lot of the emails that you're seeing are showing emails, and then the senders of those emails are still redacted. Anybody want to take a stab why there's redactions still in the emails today?
I'm confused because, first of all, it seemed like everybody was complaining that there were redactions and too much was redacted. And then didn't victims come out and say that information was released and not enough was redacted? Where are
they're
we
trying to
at
get
with
the whole
that?
website. They're trying to get the whole website taken down. They're suing to have the whole thing, to have it all pulled down, all of it. Yep.
Right, which didn't the Democrats like get behind these victims? Like, we're gonna release all this information, blah 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 blah. And now the victims are like, whoa, hold on, we want this taken down. Like, where are we at? My head, I can't keep up. But also, the redactions were supposed to be victims and people that were being investigated, correct?
Well, and national security, right?
Right.
National security.
Well, which is exactly the point. So if you're wondering why there are redactions that exist in the files today, there's a reason for it. It's because the Epstein Transparency Act that Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna wrote, pushed, passed, and Donald Trump signed requires it in specific instances. And in this instance right here is the one that I think Donald Trump is using for the show your ass theory to get the entire country to the place where when and if arrests happen, they're prepared for it.
Or
Section C.
it says temporary, the redactions. What does it say? Withholding or redaction. Okay, so a federal process. Okay, if the withholding or redaction is narrowly tailored and temporary, what if some of the things are redacted that don't necessarily need to be redacted so that all this can get stirred up and these people can run their mouths and then they're like, boom, here's the unredacted copy.
Exactly my point. SK, you are so smart.
I have
my point.
I have just a legal question. Is it illegal? Was it illegal? Or would it be illegal to have visited Epstein Island?
Hold on.
Is that a crime? I'm just curious.
No,
Is it a crime?
It's not a crime.
It's a political crime.
But hold on. Lazarus AF said the victims, in quotation marks, are now millionaires. They only came forward after he died and there was a compensation fund. False. The compensation fund was like 2009. And oh no, wait, hold on.
There's a couple of them, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's more than one, but the compensation started well before he died. The actual victims compensation fund that was set up with the estate is a different situation. That was right after he died, but there's more than one. There's been more than one set of compensations go out to victims, but you have hundreds of people. There were like 200 and some odd people that got compensation through the victims compensation program that came out of the U.S. Virgin Islands. You can read all those court documents. They've been out since well before all this shit was released. This is like old news. But there's also lots of lawsuits because they were able to sue. That was one of the things in 2008 in that non-prosecution agreement. He basically had to agree to like pay these people.
Yeah. And Nom even brought this up several weeks ago where he mentioned that those compensation funds basically turned into like a cottage industry of people who were making up claims and allegations, hoping that they could get paid. But nonetheless, you're right. A lot of people made a lot of money on this for sure.
And they did get
many
paid.
of them should have gotten paid.
Yeah. Agreed. Many of them should have gotten paid, but you're right. It became a cottage industry where just really anybody was making an allegation down there. You had ambulance chasing attorneys who were like, hey, we can make some money on this. And they did it.
But that's not how it went, though, because when you read the actual court documents for the victims compensation program, the woman that was administering the program is the same person who handled the 9/11 claims. This person, there were a lot of things that you had to go through. You had to like go to counseling. You had to like go through a lot of stuff in order to be able to get the payments. And then the payments were basically that you got more money if it was like real bad and there was like actual PTSD and like medical diagnosis as a result of the abuse and things like that. It wasn't just anybody that signed up got paid. But also, if you got paid, you had to sign a document saying you would withdraw. You had to drop all of your lawsuits and all of your
and I think
everything.
There's NDAs too.
Yeah, NDAs.
There were NDAs, but there were also NDAs between the government and Epstein in the non-prosecution agreement.
All right, I want to get this, and then we'll wrap up.
I want to go back to my original question, though, right? Because would jeopardize an active federal investigation or tampering or ongoing federal prosecution? That's all well and fine, and we know that there's no statute of limitations now. We actually had to look that up on child sexual assault of a child, rape of a child, all those things. Thank God there's no statute of limitations federally or in almost all states. That's all well and fine. But the problem that we're seeing, you go back to that dude that's demanding arrests. We see nothing but, in my opinion, giant leaps from someone is in the Epstein files to they rape children. There's a huge cavern of evidence that is missing between that person was on a flight manifest to Epstein Island to that person raped a child. Where's that evidence? Because you aren't going to prosecute anybody without it. You can't. What do you? That's what Bongino and that's what the DOJ and everybody's been saying this entire time. It's not actionable anymore. If it was there, it's gone. How do you prosecute people for shit that doesn't exist anymore?
I agree. And also like dragging people all over the internet just because they've sent emails with Epstein or because they were on a plane with Epstein or went to lunch with Epstein or whatever. And this is what I was saying last time. Like, this is why we can't have nice things. This is why Trump was like, well, there's a lot of innocent people that are like in these files. Just because you communicated with somebody doesn't mean you raped kids, you know?
Right.
No, I totally agree. But there are instances like this that should be dragged across the internet. Why has this name been redacted? Why are these people being protected? Like, there are voluminous numbers. I keep using that word. Voluminous numbers of emails of people who are saying things like this one. I'm not even going to repeat it because it's disgusting. These are the people. And you'll notice that the name is redacted. Now, the point that I'm trying to make, and we'll move off this soon, I promise. The point I'm trying to make is there's a reason why these people's names are being redacted, and it's right there. The reason is because the law requires it. It would jeopardize an active federal investigation or ongoing federal prosecution. Now, Nom, to your point, it very well may end up being the case that they can't take action on this, but it doesn't mean they're not still investigating it. And
I agree.
It just said child porn, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Okay, well, that's not all they redacted, because when I was going through it the night it was released, remember, I was looking through it and I was sending you guys, oh my God, this is in here. Oh my God, that's in there. When I found that newspaper and all that, there was like actual porn in there too. And it's redacted and it was grown women, I could tell.
Yep. All right. Last thing I have, because I think Donald Trump is still today using the show your ass theory. I'm convinced that he's still doing it because I don't think we're quite there yet. I think we have a lot of people who want arrest, and when the not the Jay-Z's and the Harvey Weinsteins and the Bill Gates and all of these radical left-wing Trump haters who were involved in trying to destroy him for the last 10 years, when these people are ultimately scooped up, if they are, or at least destroyed publicly, their own party is going to have to be okay with it, because we're getting to that point. But I think when Donald Trump was asked the question today, I'm pretty convinced that this statement right here was another example of getting them to show their ass so that they demand people be held accountable.
It was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people
like
who feel like they haven't gotten
healthcare,
justice, Mr. President?
something that people care about?
This guy is not this politically stupid. Donald Trump is one of the most politically savvy human beings on the planet. And he knows damn well that all that statement's going to do is get more people to demand for arrest. He's playing them like an absolute fiddle right now. And they're too stupid to even know it.
I mean, I'll give you credit for this. I think this is probably true, because if you recall, it was President Trump back in, I don't know, what was it, April, May, when he started calling the Epstein files a hoax. He called it a Democrat hoax. And what did it do? It caused the groundswell of every Democrat on the planet to demand to see all the files, and every single dump every dump that's come out has just had more and more Democrat bodies laying there, engaged and involved. So listen, maybe you're right. I don't know. I think that there's a giant cavern of evidence between in those documents to actually sexually assaulted or abused an underage girl. Even that email you just wrote, as filthy and disgusting as it was, who was it? When did that happen? Can they prove it? Is there evidence to prove it? Is there physical? I mean, you know what I mean? Is there physical evidence? But how are you gonna prosecute that case?
I mean, think about this, and we're going to move on. I promise. Think about this. We are full circle now, where people are again talking about Pizzagate. After being told that Pizzagate was a hoax, now you actually have Democrats telling us that Pizzagate is real.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
That's where we are in the timeline, folks.
That's true.
That's where we are. All right, I'm done. let's move on. And us, SK, you had a final word.
Well, I just wanted to say, can anyone show me where Democrats have, in the last 20 years, less than 20 years, 18 years, ever demanded documents or anything related to Epstein to be released to the public? When did Democrats begin to care about Epstein? Because I feel like it was like 5 minutes ago.
It was when they thought that they could take down Trump. So remember, they're at the part of the timeline again where, oh, we've got him now for the 500 millionth time that you don't actually get him now. That's where they are. Right. So that's all this is. This is purely political. By the way, I put this up earlier, and because now we're finally changing topics off of that one that I despise even more than I hate the Candace Owens topic. SK, Cajun Patriot would like for you to run for Congress, by the way.
Sorry.
She's too valuable out here.
No dice. I can't do it, you guys. Number one, my mouth would get me in trouble. That's what I always used to say. Every time people would say, you should run for office, I'd say, I can't. My mouth.
Are you allowed to beat people up in Congress?
I really am not somebody that's physical. I'll defend myself. Don't get me wrong.
If I were to go into Congress and I beat somebody up, would I get in trouble?
I mean, I think it depends.
Isn't that part of the speech and debate clause? Like beating the crap out of idiots in Congress?
Oh, well, they'd be fucked if you can just do it with debate.
No, you can't. You can't.
Then I couldn't go to Congress.
No. You could rhetorically beat the shit out of them. You just can't.
No. I want to physically beat the crap out of them.
But most of them are like geriatric in their like 80s and 90s. That's not fair. The ones who actually need to have their asses handed to them are the old people. But did you see Maxine Waters today? Up there,
I don't want to look at her.
No. Did you see that fucking clown moron try to question Scott Bissett? His IQ is like 5 times hers, a multiple of 5x of that retard.
How has she
IQ.
Been in office like since like what, like 1990 something?
Oh, and then Joyce Beatty trying to lecture this man. It's Joyce Beatty. Anyway.
I can't. And how is Mitch McConnell still in there? I mean, like Congress has become an actual nursing home. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I've always said I couldn't run for office because my mouth would get me in trouble. But I also say that I feel like you can't get elected to office if you aren't corrupt as hell. Yeah. And if you happen to make it through and you're honest, you'll be corrupt really fast because they find a way to make you corrupt. And I just am too honest for politics. I couldn't do it. I would get in there and I would crash out and I would start going and you wouldn't be able to stop me. I would tell them all exactly how I feel. And I don't think that would go over very well.
Did you see what DJ Constructive said? Put that back up.
Don't read this out loud, though.
No, it needs to be read out loud for people who are not watching.
Never made it through evolution, and I think that's hilarious.
All right. Nob, you had a topic you wanted to talk about.
I do have a topic.
Let's do it.
Hey, I have a question, PatriotDad SK. If there is a member of Congress and they start speaking, particularly in the Senate, and they start speaking, who do you automatically know they are speaking on behalf of the CIA?
Well, there's a couple.
Who is that person?
Mark Warner. Mark Warner is the mouthpiece in Congress for the CIA. Is that who you're talking about?
That's exactly who I'm talking about. Because Mark Warner has a lot to say right now about a very particular topic, which makes me wonder why the CIA has a lot to say about a very particular topic. Because, again, we've done this before. Mark Warner doesn't speak unless the CIA takes their hand, shoves it up his ass, and starts going like this.
That must be the twin thing, because I was literally getting ready to say that same thing. Like the CIA has their hand jammed up Mark Warner's rear end, and when his mouth moves, it is somebody in the CIA doing it for him.
Correct.
Well, I also feel like that video with all those people and Slotkin and all of those people. I mean,
yeah,
they're like the string puppets of the CIA.
No, but Mark Warner is the intelligence committee person who, whenever he speaks, you know that he is talking for the CIA. So he has a lot to say, and this is what I would like to talk about. This is my topic.
All right, let's do it. What does he say?
Decimate the leadership of the FBI to the point that raid that was made last week in Fulton County in Georgia on the ballots, the FBI agent in charge of that office got fired because I don't believe he felt this was legal. And then to have a few days later, the director of national intelligence who showed up at that domestic criminal investigation where she had no right to be there, suddenly gets the President of the United States on the phone with the frontline FBI agents who are working on that case. I know Trump doesn't know the law, but wasn't there anybody in the White House counsel that said, Mr. President, you shouldn't be talking to FBI agents on the front line of what is supposedly a domestic criminal investigation?
This guy.
Did anybody in the Biden administration go to Biden and say, hey, look, I really don't think it's smart for the White House to be meeting with Fani Willis and Nathan Wade and all of these people right before they're getting ready to indict Donald Trump? Come on, get the fuck out of here. That guy is full of shit.
Can I just weigh in real quick, and then Nom, you can take it from here.
Please do. Yes.
Can we please, for the love of everything that is good and holy on earth, please stop pretending like the president of the United States is not the chief executive of the country and has full authority over the executive branch, which happens to include the FBI. So if he decides he wants to pick up the phone and call someone at the FBI, that's his prerogative because that's his branch of government. He owns it. He is the executive branch. He doesn't just manage it. He's not the administrator of it. He literally, it's almost like it emanates from him, according to the Constitution. Without him, there is no executive branch. So, Mark Warner, you can take your CIA propaganda that someone shoved their hand up your ass and convinced you to say, and you can just blow it out your butt. Donald Trump can, should, and will continue to talk to the FBI when they're doing the work that he expects them to do, which is to root out election integrity issues.
Right. So what's so freaking hilarious about this, right, is when they're super scared about something, they start doing all this stuff. First, it's the attacks. It's, the Tulsi Gabbard. It's a whistleblower. There's a whistleblower complaint that Tulsi Gabbard didn't forward over to they're doing everything they can to get President Trump to fire her, which I don't know if you guys watched Bongino earlier today. It may have been yesterday's show. He actually let something slip when it comes to personnel and HR matters and President Trump. If anybody in the media comes out and says that this person should be fired or there are rumblings that somebody's going to be fired, that Trump is not happy with them, that is the perfect way for President Trump to never fire one of those cabinet members, is if someone in the media demands or declares that this person should be fired or they've broken the law or what they did was unconstitutional. Because President Trump, if the media is calling for their firing, he will never actually fire them.
Promotion.
Right. Promotion. Like instant credibility.
That's where I'm at too. The reaction of the left in the media of somebody's appointment or whatever, the more they push back and make noise about it, the more I'm like, okay, well, they're hired. But also when they say this person has no experience and I look at their experience, if you've never served in the federal government before, you go straight to the top of the list of experience for the position.
That's right.
I agree.
Hey, Nom, did he also, the mouthpiece for the CIA, the puppet of the CIA, did he also say that Tulsi Gabbard has no right to be in Fulton County?
Yeah, which is actually a lot calmer than some other folks claimed. Other folks claimed that she was actively breaking the law when it was unconstitutional for her to do that. Saying, people were saying that the director of national intelligence legally cannot be involved with any domestic matters.
What's weird, because there's some executive orders out there that say very differently. As a matter of fact, the DNI has a role in this.
I mean, you don't even have to go that far, because I'm old enough to remember, I think we all are, but we had a director of national intelligence who I believe his name was James Clapper, who had all 18 or 17 intelligence community agencies all came together and they wrote a report that President Trump colluded with Russia. What do you think the DNI was doing? What do you think Clapper was doing?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, where has everybody been? You have to remember, though, we're dealing with people that still to this day think that Operation Crossfire Hurricane is a conspiracy theory, a Q conspiracy theory, as I was told one day in a debate, and I had to make them pull it up on FBI Vault when it was still super redacted, by the way. When
SK,
Biden
you're
was
going to
president.
hate this, but Q seems to be more and more right every day.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, okay, I don't know anything about that, but I mean, I do get a Q newsletter that comes with like some rubles for my payment for working for Russia, duh. But other than that, I don't know anything about Q. But anyway, You guys, obviously there's something going on if Tulsi Gabbard is down in Georgia. They obviously probably have some suspicion that there's foreign governments involved or foreign actors involved. And it's probably a national security issue, because imagine that Obama himself declared our elections as critical infrastructure to be able to censor your speech surrounding elections. And now that that is the case, it is now critical infrastructure, and it's a national security concern when there are questions surrounding an election. So thank you, Obama, for that. But also the left is completely hypocritical. And if you don't recognize this, there's no hope for you.
So
Funny
Family
enough,
Crest, hold on, Family Crest, perfect comment. What does the N stand for again in DNI? Anybody? Director of National Intelligence. It's literally in the
I was going to
title
say
of the
something
job.
funny. It literally is national intelligence, which, as you all know, I think everybody with every sentient being in the U.S. now, after we went through Crossfire Hurricane and all that stuff, knows that there are multiple intelligence agencies throughout the federal government. The FBI has one, DHS has one, Coast Guard has one, DOD has one. I mean, all of them. You got the CIA, you got state. I mean, all of them. As a matter of fact, there are like 18 different intelligence organizations throughout the executive branch, and the director of national intelligence is in charge of all of them. When I say in charge of all of them, it is her job to take their intelligence, to feed it up and figure out what it means, and then take all of that. And one of their jobs is to distill that down into the PDB, the Presidential Daily Briefing, right? They're the ones who look across all of the intelligence activities and try to make sense of everything that they're saying. That includes domestic intelligence. That includes non-domestic intelligence. That includes 5 eyes, 7 eyes, 13 eyes. How many eyes? 15 eyes intelligence, all of them. So why would you imagine the DNI would be involved in an investigation in a 6-year-old election where there were significant claims of all kinds of things being wrong? Doesn't even have to be foreign. It could be domestic, because there's all kind of intelligence that can be gathered by the FBI, by DHS and others of, things moving across state lines and all of this stuff. These people are just insane.
I think I have a hypothesis. Maybe because what they found does include international and domestic issues.
Well, I mean, she answers the question, because all of these people came out and was accusing her of breaking the law and violating the Constitution and all this stuff. And so she actually came out and she wrote this very lengthy, very nice letter to these people. And she said, contrary to the blatantly false and slanderous accusations made against me by members of Congress, Mark Warner, you're one of them, and their friends in the propaganda media, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence has and will continue to take action under my statutory authorities to secure our nation and ensure the integrity of our elections. So what statutory authorities might she be referring to? Because if she has statutory authority, that basically means by law she's required, she's obligated to do things, which
it's not like a recommendation. It's like,
right.
This is your job.
Your job. So that would be the opposite of being against the law. It would actually be required by law for her to do some of these things. So some of those things, it's a mandate. It's an obligation. Yes. Right. Election security, as we know, is a national security issue, right? So as she publicly highlighted on April 10th or 10 April 2025, ODNI has been actively reviewing intelligence reporting and assessments on election integrity since I took office. As part of the National Counterintelligence and Security Center's responsibility to lead, manage, and coordinate counterintelligence matters related to election security. Just that right there tells you that, yes, this is her job. She's actually doing her job. So what else did she have to say about this? Let's go up here to number 2. And she actually starts to explain that the Director of National Intelligence, OD, or the DNI, has broad authority to coordinate, integrate, and analyze intelligence related to election security. Specifically, Section 102A of the National Security Act of 1947, as amended, provides the DNI with robust authority to coordinate and integrate national intelligence, which includes intelligence pertaining to foreign intelligence and counterintelligence threats to election processes and infrastructure. Going down further, Section 119C of the National Security Act of 1947, as amended, requires ODNI to maintain a capability to analyze and integrate intelligence. Guys, what she's telling you through these things is that not only is it her job, she's actually required to do this, but there's a reason why she's looking at this information. There's a reason why she's involved in this. It's part of her intelligence assessments.
I decided to go out because I remember, and I couldn't remember which one, but I know there's a series of executive orders that were signed by President Trump in the first administration that I believe are still active, SK, correct me if I'm wrong. Executive Order 13848, imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in a United States election. And you want to know who is directly charged with the responsibility of collecting that information and reporting on it?
Yeah, I mean, you mean this right here that I've got a screenshot for right here?
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing right there. Yeah. Yeah. That assessment. So I'll read you the language that she wrote in here. The president declared a national emergency on the threat of foreign interference in U.S. elections and directly tasked the DNI with assessing foreign interference after every federal election. This was the executive order that President Trump pushed out in 2018. She is required to do this. This is actually her job, which begs the question. Mark Warner knows this. Mark Warner is aware of these. Mark Warner was around when a lot of this was passed. Mark Warner probably complained about this executive order in 2018 because he's like, there's no need for it. It's an attack on our elections is what Mark Warner probably called it. It's an attack on our democracy, the very fabric of our democracy, to want to keep an eye on foreign interference in our elections. Then why would Mark Warner go out and absolutely bold-faced lie about this when Tulsi Gabbard actually does her job? Anybody have any ideas why?
I do.
What's your theory? What's your theory?
I want to hear SK's theory first. SK, what's your theory?
Well, I mean, I think that, like I've been saying for a long time, that I think that the CIA, I'm afraid to say it. I feel like they've been operating on U.S. soil for a really long time and not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. And I think that maybe they're a little bit afraid of what might be coming out and what could happen as a result.
Maybe. Nom, do you have that video of the chairman of the commission, of the Fulton County Commission? Maybe you should play that here in a second.
I do have that.
Oh, the one where he said that there were arrests coming?
Yeah, because my theory, the reason why Mark Warner is coming out and lying to people is because he knows people are about to get in trouble.
Did you catch whenever he was talking? Well, we'll listen to the video first, but I found it pretty interesting, the choice of words that guy used when he said that there were arrests coming, and he talked about his source, and I was like, your source? Who's your source?
Probably Mark Warner.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right, play that video real quick.
Hold that. I mean, I've gotten I received a call on Monday before last Wednesday, before the raid, that there were going to be arrests in Georgia. Secretary of State, his deputy, Sterling, I believe his name is, me and 2 or 3 others. That did not happen on Monday. It didn't happen on Tuesday. But lo and behold, on Wednesday, the FBI shows up. And in addition to the FBI showing up, when Tulsi Gabbard showed up and we'd heard a rumor that she may be coming, I couldn't believe it. But I didn't meet her, didn't talk to her, but she was in fact there. So that leads me to believe, and any rational thinking person, that there's something sinister going on here. There's something bigger than just the FBI confiscating the records that they took. So that's why I say that. But nothing happened. Now, after the FBI raid on Wednesday, on Friday, I received another call. Actually, it was this Monday. Same source saying that you guys can't relax, even though the FBI has been there and they've confiscated the 700 boxes. Arrests are coming. So we'll have to wait and see.
Who's your source, Mr.?
I think we should start demanding his source. We demand the American people and the Patriot Source podcast and the incredible influence of our chat, Sir Rob Pitts, chairman of the commission for Fulton County. We want to know who your source is. Who's your source?
I don't care who his source is. There's all kinds of leakers. There's all kinds of leakers in the DOJ. That's fine. He's never going to tell who the source is. I'm more curious of why he's calling it something sinister is afoot when the FBI is coming to take a look at the ballots that everybody in the freaking world now knows you have no chain of custody for almost for a large number. Everybody, none of this is a secret, right? There's been Georgia Senate, Georgia legislature rulings all over the place on this. Everybody knows that what happened in Fulton County, Georgia was a freaking disaster, if not outright. And I know we're on YouTube, and I don't know if we can still say some of this stuff still. Everybody knows what happened, and you're calling it sinister that we're actually investigating it?
But
how do you get away with that?
But what exactly? I remember reading, I don't remember where, but I remember reading about 2020 and everything that went down and the people that were in the room with Trump and, you know, all of that stuff. Who is it that's in charge of actually investigating? Is it always Odie and I? Like, is it always Tulsi Gabbard that's in charge of investigating any irregularities? Because isn't there a whole office? I remember reading about an entire office in the DOJ that their job is literally like election integrity and making sure that the elections are run properly. I do know that there's a separation between the states. The states are supposed to be able to run their own elections. That's not supposed to be something the federal government does, which I get. I'm a constitutionalist. I think that separation should be there. But also, if there are questions and things have come up, that should be investigated, and it's the federal government's job to investigate that. So what department is it?
I don't know. I don't think it, at this point, it does matter for future elections, right?
Well, it matters for 2020 because when you read through all of that stuff, they were intentionally slow walking the investigations. They knew there were irregularities. They knew there were things that weren't right, but they were intentionally slow walking those investigations because the time between election day and when that has to be finished is extremely short.
Of course. No, listen, we all understand, right? And I think that's what they're trying to get at now, right? That's you weren't going to get that investigation. It wasn't going to be done because the Department of Justice under Bill Barr didn't want any of it to be done. He was involved in this. He was happy to see Trump go. He probably would have liked to see Trump go quietly, but he didn't. So we're here, right? The point that is really up my crawl here is how loudly they're screaming now about going back. If this was the most secure election in American history, like we were told it was, why are you worried that people are looking at it? What are you hiding?
I don't care how loud they scream. I don't give a flying crap about a county commissioner standing in front of a lectern complaining about nefarious things going on when there is very clear irregularities here that were not tested. As a matter of fact, it seemed to be a ton of effort to make sure they couldn't be tested. There was court orders requiring the whoever, Raffensperger, to release information, and he refused. He just flat said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it. There's a reason for it. These guys are going to jail. These guys are going to jail.
Yeah, there are people are going to jail for this. There's no question about it.
For sure.
Which, listen, I mean, this all dovetails. I can't ever say that word, dovetails, so nicely in the conversation that we're having about the SAVE Act, right? Because it's all related. You would not have been able to have the problems that we had in 2020 if we had the SAVE Act in place, right? It just wouldn't. And it's very simple. So for folks, listen, Tim Burchett is probably one of my favorite congressmen out there. I hope I brought that over. Oh, I didn't bring it over.
I know you did. I just don't think it's loaded. No, maybe you didn't do it.
I didn't. I'm going to get it because Tim Burchett does an amazing job of explaining to us all who or what. Oh no, I deleted it.
I like that guy. That guy is one of the most underappreciated members of Congress. I like Tim Burchett.
Do it. No, listen.
You talk, I'll get it.
Yeah, grab it. But basically what he does a little video yesterday, and he's like, it's very simple. What is the SAVE Act? The SAVE Act is you have to prove that you're an American citizen to register to vote, and then you have to bring an ID to vote. That's it. And you would think if you listen to a Democrat or, I don't know, John Thune or half of the Republicans in the freaking Senate, that this concept is an attack, again, on the very fabric of our democracy, which we talked about last show. When they say that, they're actually violating the Constitution in and of itself because they're talking about preserving the institutions And one of the institutions that they're trying to preserve is the ability to steal an election however and whenever they want. All right. Play
Was
this.
that
This
not
is Timber
fast?
Chat.
Was that not super fast getting that off
Super
my
quick.
phone into the Dropbox and loaded for you? That's what we
Super
call
quick.
grease lightning right there.
Super quick.
All right, play.
Hey, everybody, it's Tim Burchett. What is the SAVE Act? Or the Save America Act, whichever you want to call it. Everybody wants to rebrand everything. It's just basically this. When you register to vote, you have to prove you're an American citizen. When you go vote, you have to show an ID. That's all it is. That's all it is. And the reason they don't want it is because they know they got a population of illegals voting. We see it. They say, oh, just prove it. Well, you can Google it. It's everywhere.
There's just something about like an old country boy just speaking the truth.
It's so simple.
Plainly, clearly. I mean, you know why they don't want it. Because there's illegal people voting. It's that simple. That's why they don't want it.
This,
Like,
I
it's
mean,
not any
listen,
more complicated than that.
This very simple, basic fact is the reason you have everything going on that you have in Minnesota, you have in LA, that you have in Cincinnati with all of these, where they're fighting the deportations, because this is a voting block for the Democrat Party. You do not fight something as simple and as basic as bringing an ID. And my favorite part is one of the reasons that they fight it, we've seen them do this for years, is they claim that black and brown people are too stupid to figure out how to get an ID. They're too stupid. That's the claim. It has to be. Well, they can't get IDs.
And women, guys, because
which
it's
is
not like women
fascinating.
that are married have to like deal with paperwork and this stuff all the time.
Well, I mean, which is fascinating, right? Because there's actual polling out there that shows what we actually as voters believe about voter ID. You guys want to see what that polling is? I mean, it's pretty shocking, actually.
Yeah,
Let's see it. Harry
Going
and
back
CNN.
since 2018. You'll notice on all of it, it's all north of 75%, 76%, 76%, 76%, 81%, and then 83% in the last year of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj. They favor photo ID to be able to vote.
What about by party? What's the party breakdown?
Yeah, normally you might expect, hey, there'd be a big divide by party with Republicans really for it and Democrats really against it. But not really here. I mean, just take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. You got 95% of Republicans, pretty much all of them, but even 71% of Democrats favor photo ID to vote. So again, Nicki Minaj posting that on X, and what you see is that the American people, actually, it's not really all that controversial. The American people are with Nicki Minaj, whether they are Republican or even if they are Democrats. We're talking about 7 in 10 Democrats agreeing with Nicki Minaj that you, in fact, should show a voter photo ID to vote.
What's the racial breakdown?
Okay, what's the racial breakdown on this, right? Because I think a lot of people make the argument that people of color, non-white Americans, have a harder time procuring a photo ID to vote. But even here, take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So
Can I give you a weird analogy here? Just quick. I don't know what the statistics are, but maybe we should look it up. But think about it this way. So we have 75% on average of the American population who think that voter ID should be required to vote. 75%. And yet Democrats don't want it. And some Republicans don't want it. Those same Democrats demand that you be allowed to literally kill an unborn baby with a much lower approval rating for abortion. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, but fine.
It's amazing.
It's a correlation I hadn't considered.
Someone on YouTube said, aren't we taking away married women's rights to
No.
vote? No. The answer is no. If you exist in the United States and you're a married adult, you have ID of some sort. I mean, you have a marriage license, you have a birth certificate. Every time you have to prove who you are, you have to show your name changes, you have to show your birth certificate. then your marriage certificate, then your divorce decree, then you know what I mean? Like, come on now.
They actually, believe it or not, they actually lay out a list of documentation that you should be able to provide as a basic human being living and functioning in the United States to be able to prove that you're a citizen. And by the way, Real ID is now law of the land across the country. I think there might be 1 or 2 states that haven't quite adopted it yet, but they're pushing it off. But Real ID is the law of the land. So does that mean married women can't drive because they can't get a Real ID? Does that mean that married women are not allowed to fly on planes because they can't get a Real ID?
Bank account?
Or get a bank
Get
account?
a bank account.
How do
Or
people exist in
anything.
the world? You have to show an ID to get into the DNC.
The infrastructure exists and is required in most states to be able to drive your car to the grocery store. It's the same exact infrastructure that would be needed to prove your citizenship to vote. Same infrastructure. And as a matter of fact, the Real ID would enable you to vote because it's proving your citizenship. See how crazy it is? Like the Real ID that Democrats voted for you to have to be able to drive, go into federal buildings and get on a plane is the exact same verification of citizenship that you should be able to take into a polling place to cast your vote, but they don't want you to do that. Yeah. And there's really only one explanation why they don't want you to.
There is only one explanation for this. There is only, especially given those poll numbers, right? Especially given those poll numbers, the only people in America who oppose federal and national law that says you must be a citizen and you must have ID on the day to vote are freaking elected politicians. Those are the only people who oppose it.
Well, and I think we know why. I don't remember who it was, but I know somebody came out recently and said that there are a number of people in Congress right now that are in Congress only because of fraud.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Sorry.
It was Tim. I think it wasn't Tim Burchett. Who was it? They said it today or yesterday. They said there's at least a dozen people in this chamber right now who are only here because of fraud. Ruben Gallego's one of them. We know that. Yeah.
So Warnock, the two senators,
Raphael Warnock,
both the senators in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
This is my issue, and this is how I would debate this on TikTok frequently, because they always say that they don't want to disenfranchise a single voter because it is your right. It is your constitutional right to vote in an election. Well, first of all, that right gets taken away if you commit a felony. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of reasons that it gets restricted or taken away, but also these same people are the ones that want more proof, more documentation, more hoops to jump through in order for you to exercise your basic fundamental right of self-defense in purchasing a firearm.
Not anymore. If you're protesting in Minnesota, you should be able to carry a gun and commit felonies.
Right. But you have to show an ID to purchase a gun. And that's how you would defend yourself and your property, which is a God-given right. You have the right to protect yourself and your life and the life of your children and things like that. So why are people okay with restrictions on your defense in order for you to live? And they're not okay. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, it's not supposed to make sense, SK.
It can't. Listen, there is no rational explanation for this other than they know that there are illegals voting and they want illegals to continue to vote in our elections. There's no other rational explanation for this.
That's right.
It can't be.
That's right.
Especially knowing and seeing all of the irregularities that we see every election cycle, and it's always the exact same districts, it's always the same cities, and it's always in the same states every single time.
And it always benefits the same people.
It never, ever benefits a Republican. Not one time do any of these irregularities end up benefiting a Republican candidate.
No. And as a matter of fact, the times where we believe that there has been a successful effort to counter fraud, Republicans win. All right. So last thing, are we good? You want to move on from this?
I do. This is an interesting sort of thought exercise, right? Here in this comment, if 2020 is overturned, what do you think will happen? I don't know how you unwind everything that happened, but I mean, legally, nothing that the auto pen signed should be legal.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think the objective here is to overturn the 2020 election.
No,
I think the objective here is very similar to what we're seeing play out, just on the opposite spectrum. Donald Trump is using the show your ass theory to end the timeline to get the same people who are ultimately going to be arrested or politically damaged because of Epstein. He's using the same concept now. He is showing you through evidence what they did. And as a result of that, we are going to demand election integrity legislation be put in place as a result of it. That's what he's doing right now.
I think it has more to do with the foreign involvement and foreign influence and foreign money influence in the elections than it does illegals voting. That's my personal opinion. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that, SK. I think obviously the president and every president should be very, very interested in foreign interference in our elections. No, I'm not talking about the fake Russia where they're buying a couple of ads on Facebook. We're talking about with the shit that we know, where we're talking about, potentially fake ballots being printed and delivered, and fake absentee ballots being sent in, shipped over from China, or folks actually changing vote tabulations, vote counts in these machines, allegedly, right? All of this stuff is alleged at this point, but there's plenty of evidence and plenty of reason to believe that it happened. None of what happened in 2020 makes sense. Literally none of it does.
What a fantastic transitional comment that just popped up. I didn't prompt this. I have no idea who Danny Crowell is. Thank you, Danny, for the comment. But what an amazing transition. You didn't know that we were going to go this direction. But Cat Turd just said
I didn't know we were going to go this direction.
Cat Turd just said Canada is in a recession. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll go look it up. But it makes sense because Canada is basically a communist shithole now. And every time communists get their hands on an economy, it goes into recession and ultimately collapses. That's what happens.
Here's a fun fact. The United States was in a recession until very recently. Thank you. Yep. Thanks, President Trump.
Yep. All right, folks, we have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We have
a recession. Yeah.
A brand new segment that we are going to introduce to the Patriot Source podcast. SK has absolutely no idea what I'm getting ready to say.
I truly don't.
She has no clue because she was doing other stuff today while Nom and I were figuring out the entirety of the show. But that's okay. But we're going to introduce
other things. No, my texts weren't coming through for some reason. I was like, they're not talking to me. I have no idea what's going on.
Well, I mean, in fairness, we were both pretty busy today, so I wasn't texting either. I was trying to get some work done. I know Nom was doing the same thing, but we're going to introduce a brand new segment that I don't know if we'll do it every show, but we're going to do it frequently because for whatever reason, if there's been anything that the propagandists have been successful at, it's convincing you that the economy is in trouble. I don't know why. I have no idea why, because all you have to do is open up your paychecks. All you have to do is file your taxes. All you have to do is go to the grocery store, go to the gas station. All you have to do is look at mortgage rates. There are so many indicators in the economy that things are going incredibly well after a year of trying to fix a destructive force that the auto pen became. We've been headed to a recession for that. Oh, I didn't read the whole thing because I was getting ready to launch off on Dan's Fids.
But hold on, you guys. During the Biden administration, when we were actually in a recession, including the Somme rule being followed, we were in a recession. We had 21.5% cumulative inflation. When we were actually in a recession, the Democrats were like, oh,
40,
no,
30.
The economy is great. I debated this every day. They're like, no, the economy is great. And we're like, no, we need to elect Donald Trump because we need to fix the economy. We need affordability. Everything's out of control. Trump gets in office and 2 days in, they're like, where's the affordability? Why aren't prices down? And they're talking about the economy being shit. And I'm like, excuse me, you guys were saying that Biden or that Trump's economy in his first term was as a result of Obama's policy until COVID-19, and then it was Donald Trump's fault. And then Biden gets in office and the shitty economy was Trump's fault. But then Trump gets in office again, and 2 days in, you guys are like, why is the economy shitty and why are prices this high? Why aren't you fixing prices? What's going on? And now he's actually fixing it, and they're like, no, we're headed into a recession. These people...
Listen, they're stupid. They're stupid.
Hold on, we got a super chat. So
just to help the channel.
Rora Walk, thank you so much for the.
I think that's GP Wolko or it's GR Patriot. GR Patriot.
No, maybe.
I think it's GR Patriot.
Sorry, Nom. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Well, these people are dumb, right? Yep. They're stupid. And by the way, inflation doesn't accumulate; it compounds.
That's right.
So we are actually, 21.5 cumulative inflation, it may be true, but at the end of that 4 years, it's actually closer to like 27% compounded inflation.
That's right. So anyway, we are going to introduce a brand new segment, and we're going to play with the title of it. Right now, I'm calling it We Are Winning. So we will have a segment on most shows where we talk about where we're winning. How about that? That sounds like a good idea. But this is where I'm going to need to crowdsource some of you guys in the chat who are better at this stuff than us and have more time and, you know, can probably figure this out. I need a good buffer video. Something.
Perk up. Everybody listen closely.
Yeah, listen. I need a good like 15 to 20 second buffer video. Something that is like catchy. Maybe like the perfect idea is like an AI version of Donald Trump singing a song about how good the economy is, something like that. Because the only thing that I have right now to introduce this segment is this, and it's not perfect. It's relevant, but it's not perfect. So here is my quick and dirty that I grabbed off of X because I needed something like 20 minutes before the show started. This is my version of the new segment, We Are Winning. Buffer music. Ready? Here we go.
On the left to the MAGAs on the right. They know I'm beating Kamala. This race won't even be tied. Her policies are nutso. She's out her goddamn mind. She just repeats the same thing, regurgitating her lines. She thinks that immigration without paperwork is good. Clearly not too much power underneath Kamala's hood. Borders are. It's what you are. Borders
okay, do we have to listen to the whole thing?
No. All right, so you get where I'm going. This is kind of what I want. I need a buffer song, something to intro the new segment, We Are Winning. Because we are. I don't know if you guys saw this, but one of the biggest arguments being made against the Trump economy is that he is not paying close enough attention to the affordability crisis, which is the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard. That is almost exclusively what he's paying attention to, but nobody wants to listen to it. So it's weird. On one hand, you've got a bunch of people saying you're not solving the affordability crisis, but when he starts doing things to solve it, or when he goes out and does tours and gives speeches about it, the only thing that people want to ask him about is Epstein.
But
it's the weirdest thing.
That's what I was going to say. When he talks about the economy, they're like, oh, he's guilty. He's not talking about Epstein. And then they turn around and they're like, he's not talking about the economy. Like, what?
That's right. So we are going
That's not an accident.
No, it's not. We're going to introduce a segment. The segment is going to be We Are Winning. So I pulled together. I saw a quick clip, and I'm going to have to pull this up here while we're doing this. I saw a couple clips about lowering rent prices around the country. And I was like, wait a minute. I hadn't heard that, because everybody's telling us that things are not getting better. Everyone is telling us that rent prices are going through the roof. So here is about a 2-minute clip. One of them is like a local media outlet in Arizona talking about it. And then a whole bunch of news clippings across the country of what's happening in the rental space, because the rental space is really important.
15 data analyst Garrett Archer, and I'm taking you inside the numbers on the state of rent in 2025. And the good news is it's down this year, almost everywhere. The rental company Zumper's new report looked at the top 100 rental markets in the country. The average one bedroom, well, that's $1,448 a month and down 3% from last year. Two bedrooms are running $1,812, and that's also down 3%. And more than 3/4 of these markets are seeing drops in rent. So most Sunbelt cities, including Phoenix, are seeing falling rents. The Valley is down 6.3% this year. Nashville down 5.6%. Miami and Charlotte just under 5%, while Atlanta's rent is holding steady.
That's right. And then you've got apartment rents just dropped to the lowest level in 4 years. You've got Denver rent is at its most affordable in at least 9 years. You've got Pittsburgh apartment rent prices dropped in 2025. You've got San Diego rents dipped for the first time since 2010, new data shows. You've got, I think this is in Massachusetts, the lowest rent prices in a long time. Gasoline prices fall in the Las Vegas area. And then you have Dayton renters gain ground as single family rents decline. Then you have Erie, Pennsylvania. Apartments for rent saw price decreases since last December. Finally, a renter's market. LA rent prices dropped to 4-year low. Chattanooga, median rent down compared to last year. Then you have, it keeps going. You have Boise rent 22% below U.S. average, down 6% from the peak. Rents in South Carolina are almost back to where they were in 2024. Wichita Falls, apartments for rent saw price decreases since last December. Wow. Then you have median apartment rent in Alexandria. That's Alexandria, the most expensive place in the world. Sheboygan, apartments for rent saw price decrease since last November. More apartment units built in Santa Fe, lowering rent prices citywide. Dallas-Fort Worth rents are going down. Literally, it's freaking happening everywhere, folks. And do you know why it's happening? And do you know why I chose the dancing Trump meme? The reason why rent prices are going down, and if I have said this 10 times, I've said it 1,000,000 times, and I will say it until I'm blue in the face. The most important thing that you can do to attack the affordability crisis is get every single illegal immigrant that's in this country out of the country. The reason why you're seeing rent prices go down is not because they're building millions of new homes and apartments. It's because they are pushing out millions of people who are here illegally. Over 3 million people have either been illegal or been deported or have self-deported this year alone. That number is the reason why rent prices are coming down. Exclusively the reason why.
There's also another aspect to this, and SK, I'll let you give you in just a second. Another aspect of this is the illegals, is the federal government or state governments are no longer funding, paying their rents at the highest possible rent price. A lot of those rent prices were going up because those landlords looked at the government and said, "You're willing to pay what for these illegals to be here? Oh, I'll take that." And
I'll
that's
go
what
buy
they're
up all
taking
these
it.
houses.
And again, it's how do you spend other people's money, right? We've
Should we do that
been
again?
over it and over it and over it and over it again.
You saw what happened in rent prices specifically, but housing prices overall is the exact result of what happened in student loans. It's the exact result of what happened in with the Affordable Care Act insurance prices. Every time the government gets involved and they start spending other people's money on other people, the price goes through the roof. And that's exactly what happened when millions of illegal immigrants came into the country. The federal government started writing the checks for their rent. And then a bunch of big corporations like not BlackRock, but Blackstone bought up enormous portfolios worth of single family homes to rent them out to the illegal immigrants because they know the government was going to pay them with your money, and the government doesn't care how much they pay when it's your money because that's the least efficient way to spend money.
SK, you're sorry. SK had something to say about 38 minutes ago, and we just kept going.
No, it's fine. I just had to try and remember what I was going to say because I'll forget. It wasn't even about the topic, which is fine. But I wanted to say we need to acknowledge Vicky, Patriot Vicky, in our chat. She had surgery this morning and she still showed up. So thank you for coming, Vicky.
Wow.
And we hope you feel better soon. Vicky's here every episode. So thank you. Also,
Vicky,
earlier I saw it was somebody's birthday and I didn't catch who it was. I just saw people saying happy birthday to them. So whoever it was your birthday. Happy birthday.
That's right. All right. One last thing, and then we'll wrap it up. But it's not just rent prices. So the Trump administration is trying as hard as they can to get their message out about the improvements in the economy. And we're going to help them because I think it's important. So big wins for American families as gas prices, mortgages, rates plummet. So you've got in San Antonio, gas prices drop again. You've got Florida, gas prices hit the lowest level in nearly 4 years. Gas prices drop nationwide with Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois under $3 per gallon. You've got mortgage rates falling below 6% right now. Folks, the economy is not only doing well, it is taking off in ways that I don't think anybody fully expected to happen as quickly as it did.
We're going to have record
Yeah.
GDP. It's going to be amazing.
We already do.
Also,
we already do.
Jen Red Monkey on Rumble. It's our birthday tomorrow.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Jen Red Monkey.
Thank you. All right, folks. So go ahead.
I have a small request, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm stupid. But if you're going to do this segment, which I think is a fantastic idea, especially going to the midterms, I think we should do it up front, not all the way at the end, because we know We know most people don't stick around for the full hour and 40 minutes, especially if they're watching back later.
What are you
want to
talking
put this
about?
stuff
They're
up
here
front.
the whole time. They are.
Well, the P1s are.
absolutely-
The P1s are certainly. But I think if you want to grab to get the most people's attention, put it right up front. Lead with it. Hey, folks, I don't care what the rest of everybody else is saying, Epstein, all this other bullshit. This shit is actually happening. They want you to talk about that, so we don't talk about this. But we're going to talk about this.
That's fair. That's a really good point, and I'm totally in alignment. We will do this segment first when we can do it. We'll do it. I have a feeling we're going to do this frequently because there's a lot of really good information out there. Like, did you guys wait? I've been here since 6.
Yes, MAGA Jake he's a ride or die. He's here all the time.
As soon as MAGA Jake saw the live stream pop up, he was there. Because I think these folks have notifications. If you don't have your notifications turned on, you should, so that you get notified when we go live or get ready to go live. You should do that for sure. And if you haven't subscribed to all the channels, please do that. We appreciate you. We thank you very much. Guys, have you ever heard, and this is the last thing I want to talk about, and maybe we'll do a segment on this. We were talking about it in the green room, but for those of you guys who spend time on TikTok, there's a TikTok creator goes by the name of Blackjack American. And I have always found his content to be incredibly insightful, very economically astute, one of my favorite economic content creators over there. And I happened upon a live that he was on today. And I just was like, I'm going to go see what he's saying. And he started talking about the Genius Act. And I admittedly do not know very much about the Genius Act because I haven't spent time looking into it.
So well, that's what I do every morning when I wake up.
You look at the Genius Act
every day. No, I do the Genius Act every day.
I mean, it's like the story of my life.
That's
no act, though. It's just genius.
But there's a different point I'm trying to make is that from what I'm learning right now, and we're gonna dig into this, it actually feels like maybe the Senate did something right. Can you believe it? Because if I'm understanding the Genius Act, what the Genius Act looks to me like it's designed to do is to stand up an alternative to the Federal Reserve, a decentralized alternative to the Federal Reserve.
Cool.
Which sounds like a pretty cool idea. Anyway,
super cool idea.
We'll talk about that more as we develop this. But folks, what do you think? Did you like that segment? We're winning. If anybody out there can help us put together a 15 to 20 second hilarious, engaging buffer song with a video, if it's like a baby Trump dancing or something like that, even better. We would love it, and I may even be willing to pay you for it. So that's just me. All right, are we good? Anything else, folks? SK?
No show on Friday.
No show on Friday.
Yes, and I want to tell everyone thank you for being here. I mean, this is the best podcast on the internet. We all know that, but thank you for being here. Seriously, we appreciate every single one of you. Vicky, I hope you feel better. And Jen, I hope you have a great birthday tomorrow. Oh, it's my daughter's birthday too. Wow. So you guys have the same birthday.
Hey, what? Sorry, go ahead. Finish.
I was going to say, just make sure you subscribe on all the platforms, follow on all the platforms, and share where you can, and make sure you comment. If you come back and watch the replay, comment replay or make some comments, leave some questions, comments, criticisms, whatever. I don't care. Just interact where you can, and let's do everything we can to try to continue pushing this out so we can continue getting information out to people.
That's right. Two things real quick. Everybody wish PatriotDad good luck. He got a call back to try out for a club soccer team that he's really excited about having the opportunity to play in the spring. So that's what we're doing on Friday instead of the show. I'm taking him to his callback so he can finish his tryout. And then the last thing is, if you're going to make us a buffer video for the We Are Winning segment, please be careful in the music you select, because we don't want to use it and then demonetize ourselves and then not be able to use it anymore. So, but we thank you. You guys are great. We will see you next week unless something catastrophic happens and we have to pull a show together in the interim. All right, we're out. Later, y'all.
Good night, guys.
The bullets and the punches and the riots have been flowing in only one direction for too long.
I've been trying to tell you guys this whole time how corrupt all of these things were, and here we are.
It is not our responsibility to fix something they spent years intentionally trying to destroy. Unity can only happen in a country when you have a people who agree on what the outcome should be.